Business owners, how did you get your start? I've always wanted to start my own business and have yet to narrow down exactly what I want to do. Here are some questions I have for those of you that have taken the plunge. Where did you get the idea for your business, and what is it? What experience did you have in the field? How did you get the courage to take the plunge? Did you start from scratch, or buy an existing business? How much money did you need to start? Was it $100, $1,000, $5,000, $10,000 or $100,000? Do you have any partners, help, etc., or was it all you? What problems did you initially encounter, and how did you overcome them? At what point did you consider the business a success or failure? What have you taken away from your experience? Please make sure to include the specific question you're answering in your post to make it easier to read for those who are scrolling through later on.
Where did you get the idea for your business, and what is it? I worked in an IT shop and developed some advanced services that I was offering our customers. Corporate told me I wasn't allowed to do that, as they had the policy of referring those services to vendors, since we couldn't offer them at every location. How did you get the courage to take the plunge? I'd been with the company for nearly a decade, and was due a major promotion. A major new company initiative came down that was my opportunity, and my boss and all of my coworkers felt I was a shoo-in for the position. My boss's boss instead hired an outside candidate, a former employee of hers from a previous job. This left me in an awkward position, where all of the local staff treated me like I had the job I didn't have, and refused to deal with the lady they're actually hired to do the job. I took this as my cue to leave. Did you start from scratch, or buy an existing business? From scratch. For about 2 months I did nearly everything on client sites and worked out of my apartment. After that, I leased an office both to get out of the house and to give customers a place they could come and meet with me, bring me work, etc. How much money did you need to start? I had about $10,000, half of which came from unused vacation pay on my departure from the company. I bought myself a kick-ass laptop and a bit of other equipment, totaling maybe $3,000 in the end, then lived off the rest while building the company. I was profitable, with the rare off month, pretty much from my second quarter forward. For the first year, I paid myself minimally to supplement the savings I was depleting, and invested the rest into the company. Do you have any partners, or was it all you? My ex-wife was an accountant, and was a partner in lieu of payment for her services managing my books. I imagine you needn't much imagination to understand that this was a bad idea and, indeed, is a large fraction of why I now have to work a regular 9-to-5 for other people. Hire competent professionals. Always. Don't look for deals, don't call in favors, don't let friends or family do you favors. Find competent, independent professionals when it comes to accountants and lawyers. It's worth every penny at twice the cost. And when you do hire friends or family to do work for you, or to be your employees, don't let them give you the friends and family discount even if they offer it. Say what they will, but this is the only way you get treated like a first-class customer by them. If you're paying them below market, you'll get below market service from them. They'll think they're doing you a favor to be doing anything at all. Pay them their usual rates. Always. What problems did you initially encounter, and how did you overcome them? See above. I learned this lesson from hiring a friend early on, then failed to apply it to my, now ex-wife. At what point did you consider the business a success or failure? It was a rousing success and, had my ex-wife not fucked me over thoroughly, I'd still be doing it. I was very proud when we were doing well enough that the company had signs in the local arenas and newspapers. I was most certain of its success when our initial line of business dried up and we had the staff and capital on hand to pivot into another line of business with very little fuss, except for the drama mentioned elsewhere, which ultimately doomed us. What have you taken away from your experience? My falling out with my ex-wife had little to do with the business, but she managed to use it as a tool of abuse in our divorce. She took something that employed half a dozen people and made me shit tons of money, and destroyed those jobs, impacting a bunch of employees who'd become like family to me, and destroyed my ability to even pay myself. All out of spite. Rule number 1, don't do business with family. Rule number 2, don't do business with family. Rule number 3, for God's sake, don't do business with family, you fucking twat.
By Fat White Barber. Where did you get the idea for your business, and what is it? I am a barber and have owned my own shop for about a year and a half. I got the idea for my business after researching my area and trying to figure out what service was needed. There was only one shop for a town of about 12,000, so I figured it may not be a huge risk. What experience did you have in the field? None. I had maybe cut 2 heads before I had gotten the idea, and I had only cut them because I was bored at a friend's house and a couple guys wanted their haircut and there was a set of clippers there. How did you get the courage to take the plunge? I did some research of how much it would cost me to go to barber school and about how long that would take. I had a full-time job at the time and the company I worked for was very flexible with me and my schedule, so I could take the classes and continue to work and make a paycheck. I also am married to a great woman who has a great job, so that helped immensely on the financial end of things. I talked at great lengths with her about it and we both agreed it would be a smart thing to get into and it fit my personality very well. Did you start from scratch, or buy an existing business? I started from scratch. I worked with another barber for about 2 years after I got done with school before I set out on my own. That was a big step in my growth as a barber, and it helped having someone else that had years of experience to ask questions if I ran into problems. I believe any industry you get into that this step is an essential part unless you have an idea that hasn't been done before and therefore no one to learn from. Those types of things seem to me to be few and far between. How much money did you need to start? I started my business for around $12,000. Including school, closer to $15,000. The great part about this business is a majority of my costs are fixed and I don't have to replace things very often. It cost me roughly the same to do 1 haircut as it does 10. I am happy to say I only owe about $1,800 on my line of credit. The business was able to start carrying itself after about 2 months. To me that spoke volumes of how much another barber shop was needed and wanted in my area. Do you have any partners or was it all you? To start, it was all me and my wife. She worked for a bank and had the knowledge of how to get a business loan, or in my case a line of credit, and I had the know-how of how to cut hair. I graduated from a 4-year college with a BS degree in IS but didn't like it, but it was a business-heavy focus, so I believe the knowledge has helped with starting a business. I added in a second barber after my 1-year anniversary and we are trying to build a clientele up for him so I can expand to a 3rd barber. What problems did you initially encounter, and how did you overcome them? Advertising and getting my name out. My business relies heavily on word of mouth. I tried running an ad in my local paper and did some radio advertisement as well. I found both of those to be a waste, like throwing money down a drain. I talked about the shop to whoever would listen. I also always have a stack of business cards on me and I pass those out like candy. At what point did you consider the business a success or failure? I considered it a success when I was able to start bringing home a paycheck. What have you taken away from your experience? I don't think I can ever go back and work for someone else. I have my own headaches owning a business, but they are directly a detriment or a benefit to me. I realized why break your back to make someone else money when you can do it for yourself. I have found something I love to do and haven't had to work a day since.
By Yogi the Duck. As I'm sure there will be a lot of them in this thread, I am not a business owner, but my mentor, who is and whose job I am being groomed for, has taught me a lot. So hopefully something I say can help you. Where did you get the idea for your business and what is it? Pipeline contractor. He saw there were guys that his dad worked for that drove Cadillacs and had big houses for their families and figured that if they could do it he could too. What experience did you have in the field? Started when he was 13, laws were a bit looser back then, as a helping hand for a separate company. He started early and left late as a laborer just so that he could operate machines when no one else was on them, so that he could learn how to use them and prove himself. He took any job that he was asked, and wasn't asked, to do. How did you get the courage to take the plunge? Fear. From how I understand it at least. He has always told me that animals, humans included, are driven by fear, fear of starving, fear of death, fear of loneliness and fear of failure. How he describes it is that one would not be afraid to starve because of what he chose to eat. As long as he ate and continued to eat, he would not starve. He said that if he never took his chance, as scary as it would be, he would never get to where he wanted to be, and as long as he worked as hard as he could, harder than everyone else, his competition, that he would succeed. He tells me a lot that fear is the main reason that people fail in life when it should be the reason they succeed. People are more willing to fail on their own accord through quitting than through trying and failing. That is why he succeeded and others did not. Did you start from scratch or buy an existing business? Started from scratch. How much money did you need to start? I'm not entirely sure, but it was the 60s and I think he had like $2,000 and got a loan for $8,000. I could be wrong, but it was something in that area. Do you have any partners, help, etc., or was it all you? No partners, in the sense of sharing the risk. He had a few foremen and one superintendent who gave him their advice, but ultimately it was up to him. Another thing he taught me was that there is no such thing as a friend in the business, there are pleasant acquaintances. Because when the chips are down and everyone is looking for work, they will cut your throat as quick as they can to feed themselves and their families. They do not care about you. People will cheat you, deceive you and leave you broken. What problems did you initially encounter, and how did you overcome them? He was not making enough money some months to pay the bank back on his loan. Weather, it is a huge factor in pipeline work, because if it rains, your ditches may be affected greatly. The first 2 jobs went fine, but then 3 were plagued with bad weather, almost costing him his company. Shady people in the business, snakes in the grass. People who want you to believe you're their friend who turn around and screw you over. At what point did you consider the business a success or failure? When he had 40 guys in the field, on jobs, working at one time, with another job on the way. Also, I believe he said when he bought his Cadillac he thought he had made it, basing his version of success on those who came before him. What have you taken away from your experience? This one is easy for me to tell you from his perspective, since I hear it almost every day. You are not better than any work anyone asks you to do. If someone asks you to pull weeds, you pull weeds. If someone asks you to shovel shit, you shovel shit. If someone asks you to do something, you do it, and you do it to the best of your ability. Take pride in your work. Do not think that just because you have a different title, that you are better than someone else. Treat everyone with respect and keep your character and integrity. Once you lose those, you lose everything. Do not tell yourself I did my best if you did not. To be successful, you will have to work the longest, worst hours. Work weekends, work nights, and holidays. You will miss out on being with friends, going on dates and a lot of fun things, but you will get your work done. Sacrifice 10 years of your life living like no one else does, so that you live the rest of your life like no one else can. Let there be no regret because of fear. Do and succeed. I hope that was what you were looking for. Sorry that it's from me and not from him, but I hope I relayed all right.
The end. Thanks for listening and don't forget to subscribe.